The Connection Show. Inspiring hope, health, healing. Connecting the dots of your story and transforming your life. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops. Live with Jill Reynolds.
The Connection Show. Inspiring hope, health, and healing. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And we are in New York at the Great Awaken America Tour with General Flynn. And in the media just walked in Bo Polny. Welcome, Bo, to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, you know, Bo, the audience loves to get to know the different people on my show personally, so they get to know them more intimately. So whatever you're comfortable sharing, would you take us back to your childhood, to little Bo growing up, and share with us where did you grow up and what your life was like, if you had siblings, and then maybe take us on a journey from grammar school to junior high and let us know a little bit about you.
Wow. Okay. Was born in Canada, city of Winnipeg, and lived there till I was about 18. And then I have two sisters. And then from Winnipeg, I ended up leaving to go to college in Toronto. I was there in Toronto for 4 years, and always did pretty well in school. Didn't find school too complicated. Graduated, I think, near top of my class, and graduated as a chiropractor when I was 21 years old. So the second youngest in my class when I graduated.
And what led you wanting to be a chiropractor?
I just liked helping people. Just enjoyed, speaking to people, talking to people, and always liked to just do what I can do for somebody.
So you didn't have like a family member who had an illness with
oh,
their
that's a good
back?
point. Yeah. What happened was I was a top athlete. I was very athletic when I was young. I did really well in sports. And one day I hurt my back, and I went to different doctors, and it was just a complete joke, like orthopedic surgeons and different doctors, and they're like, and there's a magic pill for everything, and and then when you're young, they're like, you're fine, but I wasn't fine because my back hurt, So, and then finally, after numerous doctors, no one could fix my back, and I knew it was a waste of time. All the different doctors I was seeing. Finally, this friend said, or my mom, or I think it might have been my mom, said let's go see a chiropractor. I'm like, I don't know what they do, but maybe just go get it checked out. And, they took the x-rays and realized my leg was a little off and hips were a little crooked. So then he gave me an adjustment, and I'm like, oh, that worked. So what I needed. Because when you need something and then they do something to you, you're like, oh, that's what I needed. And then I went.
Now, did they also do kinesiology or straight chiropractic?
No, just straight adjustment. Adjustment. So, I was like 18 years old. I just needed, or 16 or something. I was like a young kid. I just needed to adjust. My back was a little. I twisted it, and with a lot of running around in sports, got hit or something, and I think I adjusted and went one or two more. I'm like, that was fine. Everything went away.
Well, I love that
and
story.
So it just made sense. I'm like, okay, wait a second. So let me get this straight. So if your back is crooked, you get an alignment to, like a car, you realign the wheels, and then everything works good again. Oh, well, that's kind of simple. And then so from that point on, I'm like, I was going to college, high school, and you're like last year or two of school, you're like, what do I want to do? And I'm like, I wanted to be a doctor, but after that experience with my back, I'm like, I don't want to be a medical doctor. It's because all I got was like pills or telling me that my back is fine. I don't need surgery. Well, I know I don't need surgery. I'm 16 or 17 years old. But something's not right.
Yeah.
And so I wanted, and then the chiropractor thing just made sense to me because I was an athlete, and I just I liked working on it just made sense. I had good hands, and so I ended up being got into the college there in Toronto, and did great.
Did you open your own practice?
Yeah, then I moved to California, and within 2-3 years, had one of the largest clinics in California.
Wow.
I ended up hiring orthopedic surgeons to work for me.
What was the name of your clinic, Bo?
Natural Health Center.
Natural Health.
Yeah,
okay.
No, we ended up. It was in California, and then we had like an orthopedic surgeon, an internist working with me. So we just kind of had a bunch of physical therapists. So we just kind of had everything in the office. It's kind of cool, that we could just, virtually, any major issues we could pretty much take care of in our clinic. And
one
and
story
doing
I
really
love.
well.
One story I love about chiropractors is my son when he was little, he got ear infection.
You just get an adjustment, and it clears. Because chiropractic, the simplicity about chiropractic is it's like a garden hose, right? And so if you step on a garden hose, you diminish the water supply. That's the simplest visual I can give you. Okay, so if a nerve is no different than stepping on a garden hose, you're diminishing the nerve supply to wherever that nerve goes. So so that kind of ties into what I do nowadays, but basically because chiropractic, the essence of chiropractic is called above, down, inside out. So, above meaning God, and then down into you, and then from inside of you out into all your organs and nerves and tissues and cells. So that's the essence of chiropractic. And then so it kind of lines up, and then and then what I do now is talk about God. How crazy is that? But it was just like this whole journey that I started with chiropractic, realizing that the body can fix itself. Yeah. Period. The body can fix itself. You don't need drugs. Yeah, there might be occasions every so often, like, will I take a Tylenol sometimes, or will I take a medication because antibiotics, I'm like a little sick. Yeah, I'm not saying to never take something, but you don't need a medicine cabinet full of drugs. Okay, yes. Every time you're sick, you don't need to be loading up on stuff all the time. When there's, just like you just said, was it your son or
yeah, my son?
With
you get an adjustment with the cranial bone, and the one thing I thought was so fascinating is to realize the cranial bone has a lot to do with digestion. So when you got a baby that's colicky, you don't treat the colic with medicine. You adjust the cranial bone, and the colic goes away.
Right. Well, I would adjust. I adjusted every single one of my kids. I still, to this day, even though I'm not practicing, I still adjust all my kids, my family members, friends, anybody, just the point being is that, even myself, I get adjusted usually twice a month still. And, I'm a little older, but I feel like I'm 25 years old. Like, it's crazy. I feel so healthy. And I look at people around me who are my age, and they have health issues. And like, I still play soccer. I'm the oldest guy on the team, but I'm still like pretty good. I just take care of myself. And the whole essence is because I took care of my spine. And I just kept my spine healthy, and back to the concept of why you need an adjustment, because it's like an adjustment moves the bone off the nerve to restore the nerve supply to wherever that nerve is going. So if it's going to your digestive, to your stomach, or digestive organs, well, then that's going to work better. If the nerve is pinched going down your arm, now the weakness in your arm will be gone because you got an adjustment, And so the essence is to get adjusted earlier as younger than it is older, because if you've had most people who have like arthritis in their neck or back, it's because arthritis is no different than a cavity. And a cavity, what the example is, because a cavity is a bone, and it might take several years for that cavity to form. And same like if you have a misalignment in your spine, if you leave it for several years, the bone malfunctions for several years, and the malfunctioning causes degeneration. Degeneration is a cavity.
Yep. And the body needs lots of water. And it needs water.
Nutrition, water. Exactly. So the point being is, God made us perfect.
Yep. Perfect.
Because God's perfect. He made us perfect. And then, you got pharmakia, right? So if you study, the translation for sorcery is pharmakia. Is pharma, and so, the medical model, right? You have a snake going around.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that snake takes you back to the Garden of Eden. So the point is, in my presentation that I do today, I talk about, how the world we live in is a control system that is basically Babylon. Okay, Babylon the Great. Read Revelation 18. And so the point being is, everything that God has kind of taken me from a young child to now, He's kind of been setting the stage incredibly for what I do today. Just because everything I do today is no different than what I did when I was a chiropractor. And I just knew that the God had the ability. He created perfection, meaning us. We created us perfect. He created us in His image. We're created perfect, and if we understand that if we keep taking care of ourselves and we make our own personal decisions for our personal health, things work out pretty good.
Yeah. So pause that for a moment. So let's go back, if we could. I love to hit the recorder and rewind a moment. So going back into your childhood, leading up to the injury that you had that led you then to realize that chiropractic was one of the things you wanted. At what point in your life, and again, you said you had siblings, did mom and dad stay married throughout their whole marriage, and where did God come in? Did you go to church as children? What was your parents like, and then spirituality in your life? I have no idea where God came in.
Okay.
Where did God come in? Because you just don't wake up one morning, even though the God creates us, and you've invited Jesus into your heart.
No, that's a great point. So I grew up Catholic. I was born. I have two sisters. I was. As a child, they baptize you. The Catholic lie about, that's baptism by definition is a choice. Okay, not your parents baptizing you.
Yeah. As a kid, it's more like infant dedication, even though the Catholics call it baptism.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem is when you do that, right? Then for the rest of that person's life, most people don't get baptized. They don't make the choice afterwards, right?
Right.
And so that's the whole point. Jesus didn't get baptized until I think he was 13, or at least he was a teenager, early teens, because he was a conscious decision to choose God, right? But again, so then you do the altar boy thing, and it's like, you're telling you do what your parents tell you to do.
Do confession.
Yeah, all that stuff.
And then you go out on Saturday night and you sin, and you go, and right before church, you're like,
I never sin.
Oh, never. No. I love Catholic. You go to confession on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Then you go out with your friends Saturday night and you swear and get drunk.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go, and now it's Sunday morning, and you have to sit there in the pew
with a hangover.
God, would you forgive me before I go get communion again? Because my parents will know if I don't get communion, I did something wrong.
I was definitely extremist when I was a kid. Let me, people see me on stage. I got to admit, I was not calm as a child. So
I kind of had a feeling, especially when people want to brush over that. Let's brush over that.
Yeah. So, but one thing is that as a young child, then teenager, I do know one weird thing. It's just like everything in my life worked out perfectly. And so all I knew all my life is that I was blessed. Yeah. And I think this is, whatever you want to take of that, but I just knew throughout my life, it's just like I played sports, I did great, school, I did great, everything's just like not that hard, I just did, so I did great.
You dated the homecoming queen.
Well, I kind of got whatever, everything worked out well.
I get it. And so where did God come in personally?
No, and so is the weirdest thing, but I just knew in my heart, as a young kid, not knowing anything, really, and as a young kid, I knew that there was a God. And I knew that. And so what I always, it was very cool. I always thank him for everything that he gave me. So I had a personal relationship with God. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy, and it's weird because it's like in the Catholic Church, you're supposed to have a mediator between you and God, right? You can't talk to God because God's over there. You need like a mediator. So you got to talk to the priest. All these are such lies, right? Because religion, not the Catholic, but just religions in general, always put a mediator between you and God, and that's the essence of religion. Religion is, in its simplest form, a control mechanism of the world. It's Babylon.
And it keeps you from God.
Keeps you from God.
Instead of to him.
Right, exactly. And God just wants you to speak to him. Yeah. And so I just knew that for whatever reason, God heard me. And so I'd always thank him. And that's kind of what I always did. And so my life was always blessed. So I don't know to tell you more than that, but I just knew. And then later on, and then things change, and then I went through changes in my life and everything. But then one day, you give yourself to God and you're like, well, it's pretty awesome. So yeah, so that's my story.
So what age do you remember that? Like, was there like that? I know you said you kept talking to God. Was there that one? For me, I remember distinctly the second I accepted Jesus, and I was raised Catholic too, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
But I remember the day that I really said, God, I can't, you can, so I'm giving it to you. So I see what you're saying. So
what happened was, then I, became, I moved to California, really successful, everything's going great, and then the market crash, and then we had millions of dollars of real estate and everything, and I was going through some issues with my prior wife, it's just kind of all these changes, and then we lost everything.
Hit bottom.
We lost everything, but when it hit bottom, the crazy part was I didn't care.
You were filled with joy, almost
right?
Like relief.
Yeah.
Like,
no, actually, and the thing was because it's like I lost everything, but then I realized I lost nothing. So like that's the cool part. Like when you have God in your life, right? You lose everything, and then you realize you lost nothing because you still got God. You got your kids. Everyone's healthy. So what? You lost some money? Oh, so you go make some money again, But the point was that when at that moment I said, you know what, God, I'm not that good at this. Even as good I think I am, I'm not that good without you. So then I said, you know what, you're in charge, and point me in the right direction. And that's so. Then from that point on, my life.
How old were you then, Bo? Do you remember about?
I was 35.
35.
Yeah, it was about 10 years. It was about 12 years ago or something like that. So about 12 years ago, yeah. And then from that point on, like, holy mackerel, my life just went insane. Like,
he changed.
Oh yeah, it was just great. Then like a little while later, I met my wife that I'm married to now, and God was right, literally as an angel, had a hand on my shoulder.
How'd you meet your wife?
Just at a kid's playground, and then she had kids, I had kids, and then God put his hand on my shoulder and his shoulder, or it was an angel or whatever it was, but there was a hand on my shoulder when I met my wife, and the hand specifically said, "Do not go anywhere."
Wow.
And then she had one on her shoulder too.
What's your wife's name?
Sophia.
So Sophia came in, and how long you been together now?
About 11 years.
11 years. So you have a blended family.
Yeah, and the kids are good and everything. Just we go through ups and downs and stuff, but our life's been been pretty crazy, awesome.
Well, one thing I love about doing interviews at these conferences that I've been going to now, this is I think my 6th one, is, believe it or not, I'm one of those rarities here that have no idea who the speakers are, which is kind of funny. So if we can...
I heard you actually yesterday, one of the big speakers came in, and you're like, I don't know who you are, but I'd love to interview you.
Yeah, and when you walked out until someone said, Bo, I didn't even know who you were when I just asked you in the hallway. So I love that because I'm real. When it's like, I don't know you, but you know what? I know that God knows you.
Yeah.
And if God knows you, you have a story.
Yeah.
And if you have a story, I want you on my show.
Yeah.
So with that, you meet Sophia, your life has changed. And so which direction did God take you, and what are you doing today? Because I'm not 100% sure, and I'd love the audience to know, and then we'll end with how they can reach out to you.
Sure. So then from that point on, life had changed. I started, I'd sold my clinic at that time. So I was kind of, everything kind of starting fresh, and so the turning point was when 9/11 occurred. Mm-hmm. I started researching, you study Bible and prophecy, and you're like, wait a second, that was foretold, that was predicted, and well, how could that happen, right? And so I started looking at, wait a second, is tomorrow random? Or is tomorrow already there? We just don't see it, right? And then you start reading the Bible, Ecclesiastes, that which has been will be again. I started studying, and because I did well in school, I could just look at charts, and I had this weird ability to memorize stuff. So I could look at charts, all different patterns, and I could just I know that, So I was starting to. So then I got kind of renowned for being able to predict precious metal movement before it ever happened. So I was one of the only guy in the world that predicted the exact day gold was going to top and silver top in 2010 and 2011. So people got to know me because I had some crazy, insane forecasts that were kind of impossible, but I did. And so I've just had, so that's, so God kind of showed me, and I was in learning still, and how a lot of this happens. But what I ended up realizing is that all these, gold, you put an L in there, you got God, and so it's, and then you read Haggai 2:8, silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord. And so what I came to realize is that, Daniel's cycle of time, it's written in Revelation, actually can be used to calculate the movement of gold before it ever moves. And so I used that, and I started, cracking codes or patterns on how gold would move and do way before it ever moved. And so you can predict in advance what would happen, so you can forecast market movement before it ever occurred. And then I applied that pattern because my wife said, hey, gold's not going to be doing a whole lot because they're controlling it, and so it'll keep moving up and down with silver, but bottom line is, it's not going to do anything crazy yet, but cryptocurrencies will. So she goes, why don't you take what you've learned, this is where the wife comes in, who's wiser than me usually, how that works, and so your better half.
God puts us together to blend us together for our wisdom, knowledge,
because I'm
and
very stubborn, I'm very stubborn. I know everything. I know so much, and then, but the wife, no, you need to take what you've learned and apply to cryptocurrencies, and then we end up doing that. I ended up doing that, and I was made some insane predictions for cryptocurrency over the past many years now.
And that's what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I do both gold and cryptocurrencies, and so I read a newsletter for that, but that's just like kind of fun. That's fun I do on the side, but it's still it's fun to do. And a lot of people love it because you can people know what happens before it ever happens, and it's crazy, but you can do it.
And so how
and then from that, I ended up laying in prophecy. And then because I have this knack and ability to take prophetic words of all these different prophets and literally interpret which are the true prophets and which, because I can look at my patterns and cycles, and I can use that. And also, when I hear the word, God's given me this incredible ability to discern. And I can discern which prophets are which are the true prophets.
Which is evil.
Right. Well, not which is, which are whatever, but there's a handful of prophets that I follow. Then God showed me how to interpret scripture, to overlay scripture on the word of the prophet. And then using that, another prophet, which is actually sitting right over here, Lois, incredibly amazing prophet. She actually got a word from God for me, which I'm like, wow, like really? And the prophetic word, God gave me a word about what I do. And God called me the analyst of time. And I didn't realize what I did, but I go, yeah, that's kind of exactly what I do. I analyze time.
That's cool.
So then I analyze time prophetically or biblically. And so I've kind of got this thing around the world now that people kind of know, I'm the messenger of hope. So I'm not a prophet, but I'm a messenger of hope because I have this knack for taking prophetic words, biblical scriptures, and putting it, and then I get pieces of the puzzle too. God gives me little visuals, and I can put
and
it all
God gave
together.
me the words for the show to be inspiring hope in Him, health of our body for the Holy Spirit, and healing of our mind, body, and soul from any wounds so that blessings can flow.
Wow.
So you have a messenger of hope, and God's given me a message of hope, health, and healing in the world.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. We all have our purpose,
Yeah. And so where can people find you?
Website gold 2020, so the year 2020, and then forecast.com. So gold 2020 forecast.com. 2020 was the beginning of end times. So we're not so we know where we're not in the tribulation or like that yet, but the clock has started and we are now things are changing, So
and do you have time to respond to people if they email you? I know your time is valuable. So if they have questions, what's the best way to connect?
Watch my videos. I basically, most questions that people will ever have are always answered in my interviews.
Okay.
So I do interviews all the time. So if people listen to my interviews, go back to past few interviews and just listen to them. I talk quick. I cover a lot of information. I cover a lot of information. I go through it quickly, but very. I explain it well. I have this knack of really explaining things well to people. And then I have visual presentations, PDF presentations that kind of help foster the information so people can kind of put it together. So if you go to YouTube and then put my name in Bo and then Polny, P-O-L-N, like Nancy Y, on YouTube, you can see all my more recent interviews and just watch a few of them, and you're going to very quickly gather and understand what I do and also where we are prophetically and biblically, how the world's transpiring, what's coming, which is important. And what's about to happen, because this year is going to be a year the world's never going to forget. This is going to be an incredible year, prophetically and calculated. Trump's supposed to return this year by the end of the year. So everything is going to be. And the reason all that happens is because God intervened. So no man is going to get glory for anything that's about to happen. This is going to be a biblical, godly event, and God will get the glory for what's about to happen here.
Well, thank you, Bo. I'm
Yep.
so grateful to get to know you.
Cool.
I know that I go a little deeper.
Yeah, it's all
But
good.
I love the fact that you were vulnerable and shared your truth with
Sure.
us today.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining the Connection Show, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
God bless.
Wow. I don't know how you felt, but Bo, you knocked it out of the ballpark with your vulnerability and your authenticity, and I am so honored to have had you on my show. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'd love the audience to now be able to see your bio to know how to reach out to you, Bo. So this is Bo's bio, and you can reach him at bopolny.com and connect more with him. So I hope that you will reach out to Bo. Ladies, I just wanted to end today by letting you know there's an amazing Aruba women's getaway to this amazing villa that you see in this picture. That's where we're going on October 26th to November 1st. And there's limited space available at this amazing event for 6 nights and 7 days. So I'm going to play a video so you can learn more about it and go to braveheartworkshops.com to register now. That's braveheartworkshops.com. And then I'd love for you to learn a little bit more about hydrogen health. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Join us for the hope, health, healing, Aruba Woman's Getaway. October 26th to November 1st, 2022. Are you overworked? Feeling stressed out or exhausted? Is it time to spoil yourself? Relax and breathe in life. At a beautiful private villa in Aruba for 6 nights and 7 days. Renew your mind and body. Discover greater self-awareness. Joining in connection, wellness, stillness, enhancing your inner peace, and reboot you. Experience amazing beaches. Enjoy snorkeling. Area attractions. Shopping till you drop. Beachfront dining. Imagine releasing anxiety. Reconnecting with self. Restoring your soul. Bring your friends and savor delicious home-cooked meals. Create lasting memories. Join us now. Register today. Book your flights to Aruba for a getaway October 26th to November 1st, 2022. Register by going to braveheartworkshops.com. That's braveheartworkshops.com. We'll see you in Aruba.
Hydrogen is used by health professionals as a powerful antioxidant and the #1 tool to fight inflammation. Studies show therapeutic potential in cancer, diabetes, digestive, and heart issues, and essentially every organ and system in the body. This is not medical advice, because I'm not your doctor, but if you have any health concerns, I strongly recommend that you learn more about hydrogen. Get educated at holyhydrogen.com and order the best hydrogen generator known to man. Use code BRAVEHEART for $100 off your order. Because hydrogen is the smallest molecule in existence, it can pass through the cell membrane and even the blood-brain barrier to clear out inflammation and free radical damage where other antioxidants just can't get to. Visit holyhydrogen.com to see the latest technology that elevates your immune system and fights inflammation. Search their research library to see if hydrogen has a track record for helping a health concern you're dealing with. Make sure to use code BRAVEHEART for $100 off your order. Remember, holyhydrogen.com.
Thanks for joining us today on The Connection Show, where we bring you stories that will transform your life. The Connection Show would appreciate your support. Please go to either our Patreon page or our PayPal Me Now link today. We love our podcast show guests and appreciate our listeners and YouTube subscribers. Please go to our YouTube channel called The Connection Show and Braveheart Workshops and subscribe now. Remember to click the gray bell in the All tab so you don't miss any upcoming episodes.